Okay everyone, we're going to do section 3.7 on proportion problems. I could have done this earlier when we first learned proportions. Don't really know why I waited till now. But the good news is you've already kind of been doing proportion problems even though you weren't clear of it. Every time that you set up a proportion, right, two fractions, and then you cross multiply to get the answer, every time you did that, you were solving a proportion. Now, you're going to find that this is going to be a hard video for me to make. I updated my computer and my tablet that I write with isn't working very well. So I'm going to have to use my mouse a little bit, and when I do the tablet, everything's going to seem slower and everything's going to be annoying. But I'm going to try to get this figured out and fixed before the next video. Alright, so let's solve this first question. For all these questions, we should be starting by setting up a proportion. So I will write my proportion slowly here. The amount of penicillin the child should take is proportional to their weight. If a 21 kilogram child should take 120 milligrams of penicillin, so that's one kind of pair of numbers there, then how much should a 28 kilogram child take? Alright, so you see that first pair of numbers is that a 21 kilogram child should take 120 milligrams of penicillin. I'm sorry, they're writing so bad. It's not my fault, it's the tablet. So what you want to make sure of is that you're clear what the 21 refers to and the 120. The 21 is kilograms or weight if you want. I'll put kg for kilograms, or you could put W for weight. And the 120 is the milligrams, or what's that? Again, a weight of penicillin. So probably good I put kilograms and milligrams. Alright, with this last number, this 28, it's also a kilograms number. So where should I write that number? Should I write it on the top or the bottom? Well, take a look right over here. Kilograms was on the top. It has to go on the top here as well. So you're going to put your 28 over there. So there's your proportion. This is what you want to know. This is your unknown. I'll call it n. If you can solve this proportion, you've got your answer. So n equals, gosh, this is ugly. N equals, remember how to solve proportions now, you have to multiply on the diagonal. You're going to multiply the 120 and the 28. So 120 times 28 and then divided by the other number, which is 21. So you take your calculator, 120 times 28 is 3,360, and you have to divide that by 21, and if you do that, you'll get the answer 160. 160 what? Well, the number ends up down here, and that was milligrams. So you get 160 milligrams. I don't even know if I'm going to try circling this because it's going to take half an hour. There we go. Okay, that's the way you solve proportion problems. Let's try another one. The ratio of turkeys to chickens on the farm, what farm am I talking about here? Strange. On the farm is 4:3. So look, there's our first ratio. Now you could write it like this, that's the way they draw it. Can you think of a better way? It's going to be more useful when you're doing proportion problems. How about as a fraction? How about 4:3? Yeah, that's going to be better. Equals. So we're going to put another fraction over here. We have this 240. Now where are you going to put it though, top or bottom? Well, you can't answer that until you know what's the 4 stand for and what's the 3 stand for. It was turkeys to chickens. So the 4 is turkeys and the 3 is chickens. What's this? Turkeys. So the 240 is 240 turkeys, and turkeys are on top. Has to go up here. Okay? Again, we're trying to figure out this bottom number. So n or m or whatever you want would go there. Sorry, that's 240. So when you cross multiply, it's 3 times 240. N equals 3 times 240. And then we divide that by 4. N equals 3 times 240 is 720, and then divide it by 4. N equals 180. 180 what? Well, the bottom number was chickens. 180 chickens. Good luck to me writing that word. Ooh, pretty bad. Okay, but you get the idea. Okay, one more on the side of the page. The scale of a map of Canada is 1.5 centimeters to 100 kilometers. Hey, there's your ratio, right? You're always going to set up two fractions or two ratios. So you have 1.5, 5 to 100 equals, and we're going to get another fraction. The 1.5 is centimeters. on a map, right? That's the map. And the 100 is kilometers. Well, that's real life. I don't know, maybe instead of saying centimeters and kilometers, you want to think of this as the map and real life. So we should have one other number. There it is, right there. It says, the distance between Edmonton and Winnipeg is 1,313 kilometers. Well, that's the real distance. It's in kilometers. It must have to go on the bottom. So the 1,313 goes down here, and we're trying to figure out this up here. So I'll put M. And when we cross multiply this time, we're multiplying these ones together. So we go M equals 1.5 times 1,313, and then you're going to divide that by 100. So 1.5 times 1,313 equals 1969.5, and you're going to divide that by 100, and if you do that, you'll get 19.695. Why don't we just make it 19.7? So they should be 19.7 centimeters apart on the map. Okay, let's do a couple tougher ones on the back. Mr. Kamali, oh wow, Mr. Kamali made the video. Mr. Kamali is doing inventory. If the ratio of basketballs to volleyballs to soccer balls is 4 to 5 to 2, whoa, we've got 3 things in this one. And there are 45 volleyballs, then how many basketballs are there? So let me write this down here. We have basketballs, so the 4 is basketballs, the 5 is volleyballs, and the 2 is soccer balls. Okay? And it tells us there's 45 volleyballs, and we want to know how many basketballs there are. So how are we going to do this? Well, if you look at it, it tells us volleyballs. We want to know basketballs. The soccer balls don't even really matter in this question. So why don't we just ignore the soccer balls and just worry about this right here, the 4 to 5 part of it. So when you have a 3-term ratio, sometimes you're just going to ignore one of the numbers at first. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just look at 4 to 5, which of course I'm not going to write 4.5. I'm going to write as 4 over 5. Now, what was the 4? Basketballs. What was the 5? Volleyballs. That's the worst B ever. The V's not much better. I think this pen's getting worse as I go along. Equals. So I should have another number in the question, and here it is, 45. And it's 45 volleyballs. Where does that go? Remember, that's a V. So it has to go on the bottom. It goes right here. Hey, maybe this is one you could solve without cross multiplying. Look at 5 times what equals 45? 5 times 9. So multiply the top by 9 too. 4 times 9 is 36. I already have my answer. M equals 36. Did that confuse you? If so, just do the same thing we've been doing all the last bunch of days. Multiply 4 times 45 and then divide by 5 and you'll get 36, I promise. Okay, now they want to know how many soccer balls there are. How are we going to do that? Well, why don't we do this? We're kind of doing the same question we just did, except instead of saying basketball there, we want it to say soccer balls. Soccer balls are there. Okay, so we're interested in volleyballs because we know them, and we want to know soccer balls. So, which one of these 3 numbers this time might be wise for us to ignore? The basketballs. The basketballs have nothing to do with it. The 4 has nothing to do with this question anymore. So let's just look at the 5 and the 2. And we're going to do the whole thing over again. So our first ratio this time will not be 4 to 5 because we're not interested in the basketballs. It'll be 5 to 2. And the 5 refers to volleyballs. And the 2 refers to soccer balls. Now we have one other number. It's 45. And those are volleyballs. Well, this time volleyballs is on the top. Remember it was on the bottom before? Now it's on the top. So put your 45 on the top. And the number you want to know is on the bottom here. I'll call it N. Hey, here's another one you could probably do without cross multiplying. 5 times what is 45? Times 9. So do the same on the bottom. 2 times 9 is 18. Or again, you could cross multiply. 2 times 45 is 90. 90 divided by 5 is 18. It still works. So there's our answer. There's 45 volleyballs, there's 36 of our basketballs, and there's 18 soccer balls, and I don't think I could. Yes, I did it. I managed to circle it. Okay, one more in this painful experience for me. we'll be finished. The ratio of staff to students in the school is 2 to 25. So let me just make sure we're clear about that. 2 to 25, where this is staff, teachers, custodians, administrators, office staff, and 25 students. Now, that doesn't mean, well, you can't read that at all. Staff, students. That doesn't mean there's only 2 staff members, right? I should have mentioned this before. It doesn't mean there's only 2 staff members and only 25 students. It means the ratio of staff to students is 2 to 25. Now, if there are 540 people in the school, how many students are there? Okay, so this is why people really struggle with this question. They go 2, 25, they're good students, so they even label it that the top one, the 2, is staff, and the bottom one is students, and I know you can't read any of that. Then they go to write their other fraction. There's one other number, which is 540. What's that, staff or students? Neither. What? What's going on here? Okay. This is a different type of ratio. When it puts the 540, they're asking you something different. This ratio here is called a part-to-part ratio. It means you're comparing 2 parts of the whole, right? 2 is part of the entire school population, it's the staff, and 25 is part of the school population, it's the students. But another type of ratio is a part-to-whole ratio. And in fact, whenever you have fractions, like when you first learned fractions and you wrote down 2 over 3, that's a part-to-whole ratio. The whole has 3 pieces in it, and you're shading in 2 of them, for example. So, in this question right here, we have a part-to-part ratio, but then they talk about the whole here. This is the whole. Well, let's see. We're interested in students in the question. We're actually not particularly interested in the staff. Isn't that appropriate? So we're interested in the students. It'd be nice if we could change this into a part-to-whole ratio. In fact, you can change this into 2 part-to-whole ratios. If it's 2 to 25 in terms of parts, then what's the whole? The whole has 27 parts to it. How come? Because this part, 2, plus this part, 25, gives us 27 parts. So there's a couple of part-to-whole fractions you could write, or part-to-whole ratios. You could write 2 to 27, or you could write 25 to 27. That's a 5. So what do these refer to, each one of these? Well, the 2 to 27 refers to staff compared to the whole. I look like a grade 2 writing or something. And the 25 to 27 is students compared to the whole. Which one's going to be very useful for us if we talk about 540 people in the school, that's the whole, and we want to know how many students there are. Oh, why don't we go with this bottom one where it talks about students? Make this your first ratio right there. And why don't we write it as a fraction? So 25 over 27. And again, what this is referring to is students on top, students, and the whole on the bottom. And then we have one more number in the question, which is 540. And what's that? Is that students or the whole school? That's the whole school. So that goes on the bottom. 540. I'll put M this time, and let's cross multiply. So we're going to have to do 25 times 540 and then divided by 27. M equals 25 times 540 divided by 27. I hope you can hear what I'm saying because you certainly can't read any of this. 25 times 540 is 13,500, and then you're going to divide that by 27, and you get 500. Oh, isn't that a nice number? There's 500 students. That's not 560, it's 500. I can't correct it. 500 students in the school. Now, the last question is, how many staff are there? Well, you could do the same sort of thing and use the 2 to 27, right? You could set up a ratio. I hope you're kind of rolling your eyes and saying, don't do it, Mr. Watchman. There's no point in doing this, but you could go 2 over 27 equals, and then for your other ratio, your whole is 540 down here, put n, cross multiply. But just think about this for a second. If there's 540 people in the whole school, and you just found that 500 of them are students, I think you should be able to figure out how many staff there are. What are you going to do? You're going to take the 540 people that are in the whole school, subtract your 500, and you will find out that there are 40 wonderful, amazing, inspiring staff members at the school. Okay, everyone, sorry about this. That was a challenging video for me anyway. I hope you found it a little bit easier to follow than I did in writing it. Take care, and that's the end of the chapter. Okay, let's see what comes next. You'll soon find out.